The big question. Hi, my name is Kama La Mackerel. I use they, them pronouns, and I am a Mauritian-Canadian multidisciplinary artist, and I live in Tejage, also known as Montreal. ZOM-FAM is a Creole term, a Mauritian Creole term that does not actually have a translation in colonial languages. So there's not an exact translation of ZOM-FAM in English, for example. The closest it comes to is transgender, if you will, but ZOM-FAM means having both the aspects of masculinity and femininity in one body, in one queer body and one queer existence. And it's an ancestral way of being in the Mauritian context that I wanted to bring to light through this work. ZOM-FAM started initially as a series of spoken word poems. I did not realize at the time I was mostly doing spoken word, and I had written a series of poems which were each like 7 to 12 minutes that I was performing at open mics and cabarets. And I did not realize at the time that if I put all those poems together, there was actually a story that I was telling. And over the years, I put this poetry together, and alongside the act of writing the story, I think I was also finding myself and finding my own voice and processing my childhood and my family history and my family lineage. And I think all of it came together over time and then became this manuscript that became the show ZOM-FAM and also the book ZOM-FAM. I think more than anything, what changed for me during the pandemic is my relationship to the work changed, in the sense that as a human being, I think like all of us, through the pandemic, we were all grieving multiple things. We were all finding ourselves in the insecurity that the pandemic imposed on all of us. And that was very much the case for me as a human being and also as an artist. And in the beginning of the process for me, in 2020, at the beginning of the pandemic, I had a lot of projects that I had to grieve because those projects just wouldn't happen. And that was the case with ZOM-FAM as well. But at the same time, I felt that grieving the form at the time, I did not know at the time if the show would happen at all, right? Like I thought at the beginning of the pandemic, theaters are going to close and we're never going to reopen theaters ever again, which is what I thought in the beginning. And I felt I had to develop a new relationship to the stories. I had to develop, to deepen my relationship with just the text and the poetry. I was blessed enough that the book came out in September 2020, and then the book had a life of its own, which then allowed me still to interact with those stories, with the poetry, but it was totally different because I wasn't on a stage and I could not commune with an audience, which for me is a very important part of my process, just the act of witnessing that happens through performance. So I felt I really just had to change my relationship to the text and then come back to it. When I came back to the performance more than a year later, I felt I had changed as an artist, I had changed humanly in my humanity, and then it was this new me and this new energy that I was bringing to this work after that. So it feels very meaningful for me to be able to bring ZOM-FAM, independent of what happened during the pandemic and all the cancellations that happened, but that now the show gets to meet an audience for the first time at Buddies feels like a gift from the universe. It just feels so right, and somehow everything that happened over the past 2 years with the pandemic feels right, because I'm like, this is the moment where I'm ready, the audience is ready, and the magic happens at Buddies.